Здравствуйте, Namaskar. Welcome to the Friday Meet arranged by the Russian Center for Science and Culture in Kolkata. This September, world will mark the 192nd birth anniversary of Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy, the great Russian writer, philosopher, and a soul for world humanity who needs no introduction to you. In the finest tradition of the Russian intellectuals of internationalism, Leo Tolstoy studied India, her people, philosophy, and the moral values and ethics of the Indian society. He was very much interested anything about India, particularly about the great ancient culture of India and the tradition of Indian people. He studied deeply Indian philosophy and Indian history. At the age of 19, when he was sick and was admitted as a patient in the Kazan hospital, he met there a Buddhist Lama. Perhaps that was the background which encouraged him to know more about India and particularly about Buddha. He studied Buddha all through his life, till death. Even few days just before his death, we can find his note on Buddha and his philosophy in his diary. When he was 19, he started writing about Buddha, I mentioned just now, but that did not mature. However, little later, at the age of 40, he started working on the Oriental literature, and for preparation of these books, he was studying different eminent personalities of Asia and the Orient, and particularly on India. And he studied more about Buddha in this period, and that attracted him more for India, Buddha's philosophy of peace, non-violence, fraternity, equality of religion, and even atheism. He even wrote a letter to his wife that he has started to write an article on Buddha. Though he could not complete this article, but one can find the important notes what he made in this article about Buddha and his life. And there he mentioned, while mentioning about India in general, about the people, and interestingly about the seasons of India and how these seasons have influenced the hearts of the Indian people, the warmth of Indian hearts, wherefrom it came. He was curious to know more about Indian culture. It is said that he was in the awe of Indian sages, of Indian philosophy, of Indian antiquity. He studied Vedas, he studied Mahabharata and Ramayana, which attracted him more, and he also studied Purans, Hitopadesh, and as usual, which was very popular in the ancient Indian literature, which is known as Panchatantra. He not only found interest in them, but he transferred the characters into Russian reality with the Russian folk characters. Tolstoy was introduced to the Indian audience not through his novels or short stories, but through his biography. And it was much earlier in 1892, Tolstoy was mentioned that persons like Tolstoy are God sent. It was published in one of the eminent journal of those periods entitled as Bharati. Tolstoy's introduction to the Indian people as the great social and religious reformer was published in the journal The Bengali. At the beginning of the 19th century, till the middle of the 19th century, the personalities of Russia who were being introduced to the Indian readers, to the Indian people, mostly dealt with Peter the Great. However, from the middle of the 19th century, the situation changed little, and there was mention about Leo Tolstoy, and slowly and gradually, the introduction to Leo Tolstoy from different angles were introduced to the Indian readers. In different journals and periodicals, Tolstoy was discussed, Tolstoy's life was discussed, and Tolstoy became a household name to the Indian intelligentsia, particularly to the people of Bengal, because many articles on Tolstoy were published in Bengali too. Thakurdas Mukhopadhyay and Charuchandra Bandyopadhyay, they mentioned Tolstoy with the similarities of Buddha. Saroj Narayan Ghosh compared him with Christ. Suresh Samajpati, the famous journalist, found the honesty of Vidyasagar, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, in him, and the family life of Bankim Chandra in Tolstoy's life. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, the great literary personality and social figure, introduced Russian eminent personalities, to begin with Mikhail Lomonosov. And today, perhaps you will know that the Moscow State University is named after Mikhail Lomonosov, the great intellectual, educationist, and scientist of those days. However, as Tolstoy was compared with different personalities, a missionary sister Christian found the similarity of Vivekananda and Tolstoy, as both were the lovers of freedom and liberation. Romarola, the famous French author, found very much similarity of Tolstoy with Ramananda Chattopadhyay, the eminent editor. Tolstoy was never a Count Tolstoy to the people of India, to the people of Bengal, but he was always Rishi Tolstoy or Saint Tolstoy. He was compared as a saint, and he was compared as Christ or Buddha, I told, but people found in him a soul which cries always for humanity. He was interested very much with the sufferings of Indian people, and when in 1908 Tolstoy wrote that I cannot remain silent with his article against the government repression of his own country, people of Bengal, people of India, they found a friend in him. They approached him from different angles. They contacted him directly with letters, which about we will discuss later on. But we must mention here that in 1901, first Tolstoy's story was translated by a Bengali person in Bengali language, which was published under the name as 40 Years, and that was translated by Chondi Charan Sen. In 1903, another story was translated, and that was translated by eminent poetess Kamini Roy, who was the daughter of Charu Chandra Sen. The story was God's Son. Sahitya Potrika, Bharati, and many other journals, they went on publishing writings on Tolstoy and about Tolstoy. A journal titled as Dashi, which was edited by no one else but Ramananda Chattopadhyay, mentioned about the importance of translation of children's literature made by Leo Tolstoy. Tolstoy was famous to the Indian audience, to the Indian readers. Persons like Pramod Bhaumik, the eminent political person and poetess Sarojini Naidu, and Rabindranath, they all praised Tolstoy for his writing, and even afterwards we can find the influence of Tolstoy's writings in many Indian literary resources. We are happy to say that once in the Russian Center for Science and Culture, just few years back, there was a screening. Actually, there were two screenings with Anna Karenina and Charulata, which was earlier known as Nostoni, written by Rabindranath Tagore. Such comparative studies were done here. As I mentioned that political persons, they also appealed to Leo Tolstoy. Persons like Mahatma Gandhi, whose influence was immense among the Indian people, but he was immensely influenced by Leo Tolstoy, his idea, his philosophy, as Tolstoy was influenced by Buddha's idea of peace and non-violence. But the voice of protest was very much strong in him. And that's why he was always admired. And we'll be discussing more about the contact between Russia and India in the light of Leo Tolstoy. Till then, we say Das Vedania, we say Punardarshonayocho, we said Abar Dekha Hobe, till our next Friday. Thank you very much.